Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with this week's Toolbox Extra guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, please remember, these are all great companies that you should be using. They're money makers, they're time savers. Add them to your team. So take 3 minutes, listen to our commercial shout outs, then listen to our Toolbox Extra guest, and then go and visit these sponsors because you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their great products. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You've heard me say before, it's probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. Go to huddle.com. I used Huddle as a football coach for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes love the videos, and our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com. Join the 100 million users and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative. Now, Vital Signs Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Beacon is a content creation service, and they're going to take your stories, your history, your coaches, your kids, and create compelling narratives that you can then post on your social media platforms, maybe on a Wall of Fame board. I want you to reach out to John Townsend, and you can do that by emailing John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's a winning team that you should be a part of. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management, you name it, Home Campus does it, and it does it better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com for more information. That's homecampus.com. We want to thank our good friends at Gipper for their support. Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for any athletic department to look like a D1 or professional program without breaking the bank or hiring a sports information director. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. How easy? Well, so easy, even I can do it. Create, share, and schedule all your social media content in one simple platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to gipper.com for more information. And as always, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software program. Things like sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, everything now flows through their secure system. Volunteer signups, volunteer changes, you know they're going to happen. Nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays engaged. Booster Hub also handles your communication, your spiritware sales. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. You'll find it all at boosterhub.com. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We'd like to say thank you to Hometown for their support. Go to hometown.com. While you're doing your job as an AD, Hometown is going to help you, whether it's digital ticketing. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. How about athletic website construction or fee-free fundraising? Their list just goes on and on. As an AD, as a principal, as a head coach, Hometown is in position to help you save time, help you raise more money, and help you bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. That's hometown.com. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, even for parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that came back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive. We're talking 98% approval. We still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. But going back to that positive data, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Schedule a meeting with their team to find out all the things that they can do for you. Take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD podcast. Hey, well, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD podcast. Longtime listeners of the podcast will certainly recognize the name John Fletcher Butler. If you're new to the podcast, John Fletcher was my public address announcer at the McClay School in Tallahassee, and he started pretty early in his career. He continued to work as the public address announcer for our school, doing a ton of events. He's graduated from McClay. He's at Florida State University, and he's doing the same thing for them. John Fletcher Butler, welcome back to the Educational AD podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me back on.
Oh, geez, it's always great to catch up with you. I think I'd like to start out by having you share just briefly, kind of your journey at McClay, how we connected, and how that experience has now blossomed into a number of new opportunities for you at the college level.
Sure. So McClay, for people who don't know, is a K through 12 smaller private school in Tallahassee. I started in kindergarten or pre-K. So I was there all through lower school, and that's when I started to get involved with our varsity football teams because they were right there on campus. And I wanted to be around sports whatever way I could. I'd be the water boy, anything that I could volunteer and get on the field. I was very excited to do. So towards the end of like fourth and fifth grade, I would volunteer on the sideline, just filling up water bottles. And that's where I met you. You were our ED at the time there at McClay. And our senior was Will Doughton, and he had been doing the student public address announcing before me. And you realize I think he was graduating as a senior, and you would like to continue that tradition, I assume. And so I started shadowing him in the press box after you gave me the opportunity to do that, and just watched how everything worked, listened to Will and how he presented the game, and I decided that was something that I really wanted to pursue. And you were gracious enough to give me that opportunity when I was in middle school to become the varsity public address announcer at McClay for football and basketball. And I did that all the way till I graduated. And like you said, it's led to opportunities now at the collegiate level. So thank you.
Well, again, you were there, and again, a lot of people. I would have students come up to me, hey, I want to do that, but they had not put in the work that you had done, learning the craft, shadowing Will, etc. And, you certainly you weren't a finished product, but I think you brought a certain level of enthusiasm, of fandom, while also being, I guess, mature beyond your years on the microphone. We didn't have to screen music. You knew what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And even in high school, while I was still 80, because I retired while you were still in high school, you were getting offers from other schools to come and announce their playoff games. Share a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. So, well, the playoff games in high school or the college playoff games?
Well, both. Yeah.
So when I was a freshman at McClay in high school now, Florida State reached out, and their public address announcer for women's basketball was going to miss a game, and they said, hey, we really need somebody. Would you be willing to step in and do this? And of course, I'm a lifelong Seminole fan. This is the dream come true for me to announce in our Tucker Center. And so I said yes. I did a women's basketball game as a freshman in high school at Florida State, and then that blossomed into doing sports like baseball and volleyball, tennis, swim and dive. And so they've really moved me all over the place, but I've enjoyed it. I get to work with a lot of different sports, and now I believe I just called my 40th Florida State game.
Wow, okay, that's incredible. And going back to Maclay, I don't want to leave this out. You were. I hope I didn't take advantage of you because you were always there with ideas. For our listeners, John Fletcher, he wasn't just showing up at the mic and talking. He had gone to Max Preps earlier in the day, earlier in the week, and printed off rosters of our visiting opponent. He's checking with the visiting coach. Is this current? Is this up to date? He did our sportsmanship announcements. He emceed at pep rallies. He was omnipresent in the most positive way for an athletic director. And I guess one of the messages I tried to pass on was that your school, listeners, you've got somebody like John Fletcher Butler at your school that would be a great public address announcer. You just have to go out and find them and give them the opportunity. Let's go and jump into, Florida State now. Share with our listeners a little bit more about, what your role is now and how it's continuing to expand.
Sure. So going to FSU, just growing up in Tallahassee, it was both my parents went here. I always wanted to be a Seminole. So when I got in, that was a nice sigh of relief. But I now am involved with Seminole Student Boosters, which I'm a public relations director. So I go out with our student athletes. I actually just did an interview with Wes Mendez right before this podcast, who is our starting pitcher. So we're trying to get some excitement going among the student population for our upcoming series against Duke. So I do a lot of interviews with our student athletes and coaches, a lot of sports write-ups that go on the boosters websites and stuff like that. And I still do fill in public address announcing across a multitude of sports. So I do a little bit of everything, but I love being around the athletic department as much as I can.
Now, this hopefully doesn't come as any surprise. I'm a big cheerleader for John Fletcher Butler. A lot of students, when they go to college, they want to get involved in, I don't know what it's called now. It used to be radio and TV. I don't know if radio is a thing anymore, but, the broadcast production end of it. But I'm going to guess not many have the background, the practical background that you already have, having announced, I'm going to say, maybe 1,000 high school games. Are people, I'm just asking a stupid question. Are people impressed and amazed at, hey, this young college kid, sounds like a pro?
They are. It's certainly my resume gets double takes because of just how many games I've been able to call. And really, that's because of how early I started at Maclay, because you gave me that opportunity in middle school. I was able to work with football, basketball, baseball, lacrosse, softball. So I have experience with all of these sports, which is something pretty rare for a freshman coming into college. So I've been very fortunate in that way.
Now, I still remember you invited me after I retired. You invited me to come up for your debut, Florida State game. How was that, in the arena, sitting in the, I'll say the big boy chair, any memories of that first college experience?
I do. So first, our high school gym sat maybe 1,000 people. It was not huge. But walking into the Tucker Center for the first time, which is a 12,000 seat, full on ACC basketball arena, I was pretty nervous. It came on me quick. But once I got into the game, I was amazed at how everything else disappeared. Like once I sat down at the chair, I knew I had done the prep work. I'd put in all the time beforehand. And so all the nerves went away. And once they turned the lights off at the Tucker Center and you go through starting lineups and all that, they tip the ball in the air. It really is a rewarding feeling. But what surprised me was how quickly the nerves went away because I knew I was prepared.
Right. Oh no, you'd been there, done that, and the game takes over. Is there a sport at Florida State that you haven't done yet that you kind of have your eyes on?
There is actually, and this is not the answer that probably a lot of people think, but we have our inaugural women's lacrosse team. So we just added women's lacrosse as a D1 sport this year, and I've gone to a couple of the games, and I've really been impressed just with the atmosphere. It's a brand new stadium, the energy that the fans have, and so I'd love to get involved over there with women's lacrosse, and that's something I've never really worked with before. So I've been trying to learn the game, learn the rules, learn all the different ins and outs of it, so that I'm ready if they ever need somebody over women's lacrosse. But
Now, the school that I was at before I came to Maclay, Palmer Trinity down in Miami, I ended up doing some of our sports like women's lacrosse because our regular announcer was actually playing baseball at the time. And I remember I kept referring to the event as a face-off, and one of the dads came up and said, "Well, they don't call it a face-off. It's so." Do you know what they call that when they're going for the ball?
I don't
All
actually. I'm
right, so
glad you said that.
there's your research question. To start play, they have the two athletes there, and they don't call it a face-off. It's called something else, and I can't remember what it is now. But
I need to
don't.
put that down to go back
Yeah.
and look it up. Make sure I know that.
All right, no, that's cool to be again. Very cool to be part of something brand new. Now, I don't want to misspeak here, but you've actually done an event or events for other Division One institutions.
I have. So after I decided on Florida State going into the summer of my freshman year, I actually was hired by Florida, the Florida Gators, to come down and do some of their games. So how it works is I guess I'm assigned to all sports. Like I'm in a pool of public address announcers that they keep. And based on scheduling and all that, they send me a list when a game comes available of whatever game it was. So far, I've done multiple volleyball games down in the O'Connell Center, but yeah, that's kind of how that works. So I've done two games down with Florida in the fall. We'll see what comes of that in the spring. And then actually over winter break, I did a couple softball games with Auburn and did some shadowing with their men's basketball team. And I'm going back up in a couple of weeks to do some of their spring volleyball games. So it's been very interesting to be working for FSU, Florida, and Auburn. But it's great experience and been really rewarding.
Now, I'm getting real nosy here. It's Florida or Gainesville's not just a 25-minute drive from Tallahassee. That's quite of a hike. Do they put you up in a hotel? Is there a per diem? Are they taking care of you?
It really depends. I haven't done anything that's been like really late or like a baseball series where I've needed to stay. It's about a 2.5 hour drive from my house. So, normally call time is 90 minutes pregame. So that means I'm leaving, the 90 minutes plus the 2 hours and 30, and I allow some time for I-75 traffic because that's always really fun to try to come into Gainesville at 5 o'clock at night. But so I have not had a case where I've had to spend the night in Gainesville yet, but we'll see coming into the spring with, series events and stuff like that. And Auburn, my mom has actually come along with me and made it a family trip both times because they were tournaments that lasted all weekend long. So it turned into like a family vacation, which was fun for them to be up there and hear me call those games as well.
Okay. So again, I assume the Auburn people are taking care of you, hotel accommodations, et cetera.
They help, but it's softball, so they had a tournament that wasn't just Auburn games. Auburn was playing in it, they were hosting it, but it was five softball games a day. So we
Wow.
were there at, oh gosh, 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and there was one night where we didn't leave until 10:30, and there is really no break in there. So I'm glad my mother was there because she was able to bring me, a chocolate milkshake to help get through the day. But yeah, it was fun.
Probably a tremendous amount of prep for something like that.
There is. Thankfully they all had SIDs there that were able to quickly, ask roster questions and all that. And after the first day, all the different teams are playing each other, but you've already called them at least once. But that first day is interesting because it's a new team every single game. And we had about 30 minutes in between games, just long enough for the grounds crew to, get the field all ready to go again. So those 30 minutes were pretty intense, getting lineup sheets and making sure that everybody's name is correct.
Right. And name pronunciations and all of that. Boy, that's a monumental task. I guess looking to your future, obviously you have your undergraduate degree program, you're going to class, and you have all these activities. Have you thought about, is there a plan for, postgraduate work of any kind?
There is. I'm definitely considering a master's degree. in sports administration or management. Each school kind of calls it something differently, but I've definitely been doing my research on that. And still trying to decide. I really do love the announcing stuff, and it's a great way to get through the front door of these athletic departments and meet people. I also really am intrigued by the athletic administration side, athletic directing, stuff like that. So I'm trying to get experience in lots of different areas and see, but I definitely think a master's in the sports administration will serve me well, kind of no matter which direction I decide to go, if that makes sense.
Well, you've already got a lot of practical experience in that area, from Maclay, and I assume, experiences at Florida State. So, I think the athletic director profession would be very fortunate to add you to their ranks. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We're not done yet, but I want to give out contact information again about for our listeners. If you're interested in, trying to start a student athlete or student public address program at your school, or just pick John Fletcher Butler's brain, John, what's the best way that they can get in touch with you and connect with you?
Sure. So I have a LinkedIn. John Fletcher Butler is a great way. I check those messages regularly. And then also email me. My FSU email is jlb25c@fsu.edu. I know that's a little complicated, so I'm also johnfletcherbutler@gmail.com. Any of those I'll check, and I will get back with you.
Okay. Let's go and wrap up with this. Again, many of our listeners are high school athletic directors. We do have some college ADs that are regulars. Looking back on your experience at the high school level, which again started for you in middle school, if somebody wanted to get a student public address system going at their school, what are maybe two, three, maybe four key things that you would recommend that they do as an AD to help get it going and then keep it going?
hmm I would say you definitely want to find somebody who not only has, the vocal ability to speak in front of a crowd, but who's going to handle it in a mature way. Athletic directors don't want the public address announcer to be a headache. The best thing is when you don't have to worry about it, you know that they're going to do their job, and then you can worry about everything else on game day because there's plenty of other things to worry about besides the PA. So definitely somebody with maturity. I think somebody with a strong work ethic just for the preparation side of things. Do they do their homework? Lots of people want to show up on game day and call the game. That's the fun part. But if you don't do the homework that's required, it won't be a good product for the fans or the players or the school. And you want to ultimately represent the school really, really well. As far as sustaining it, definitely once you find your public address announcer that's a student, have another student shadow and watch and just observe. That helped me so much, just being able to sit there and listen to Will and see how he handled the game day, how he handled the equipment, what he would say, when he would say it. All those things I still use today. So that shadowing is a very important step, and I would definitely try to implement that so that you can sustain the program.
Now, you mentioned a couple times your predecessor, Will Doughton. We had him on the podcast. I think it was this past summer. You know what he's doing these days?
Last I checked, he was with the Pickleball League.
Professional pickleball. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So he's gone pro.
that's awesome. He went to SMU, I think, and did some of the stuff out there and then got involved with them. But no, I've seen some of his interviews and stuff. He does a great job.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. He went to Southern Methodist, and as you did, continued to get involved in broadcast and production and that sort of thing. And now he's with the Professional Pickleball Association. Very cool. Who knows where John Fletcher Butler is going to be in a couple of years? Okay, John, always great to connect with you. You certainly have an open invitation to come back on the podcast anytime. We're going to continue to follow your career, and next time I'm up in Tallahassee, I'll try to not be a bad friend, and I'll shoot you a text. Maybe we can get together.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on again.
Okay. For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you. And just a reminder, we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Toolbox Extra just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. John Fletcher Butler, great stuff. Before we go, Some more great stuff is our sponsors. Now, these are all tremendous companies. You should check them out. So go see Hometown. Go to hometown.com. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. You'll find them at sidelineinteractive.com. Huddle. I used it as a football coach. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Booster Hub, the #1 booster club software program. Go to boosterhub.com. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. You'll find them at Ohio University. And I almost lost it. Let's go to Gipper. Promote your teams, promote your coaches, promote your kids. Go to Gipper.com to find out how to do it. Home Campus, scheduling, rosters, results. Go to homecampus.com. And Beacon Creative Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Check them out. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.